Okay, hello everyone. We're back with another. I guess this is. I don't know. Do your Discord consider this the a bonus episode of NetherKast? Apparently they do, but I'm not sure if I can. But I don't know. That's up to you guys.
I mean, it's any port of the storm. At this
I,
point,
uh,
we're not recording very much of anything at all.
I mean, I
Well,
think of us of guest starring on your show, but whatever you want to.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah, that's what I say. But
Call it a collaborative side project, like Steven Severin and Robert Smith's The Glove.
well, we got some big news. In fact, the only thing that's missing from the MK collection is MK Gold.
Well, MK Gold, MK Trilogy N64, miscellaneous bits and doodads, but nothing I would qualify as quite as important as MK Gold in the long run. But I'm not going to complain about that because we've just gotten so many other things, and I plan to do a little solo video about that very soon, gushing over just the smorgasbord of shit we've gotten.
There's a lot of stuff on there, and most of it is like dependent on what consoles Digital Clips was able to emulate, which is why most of it is PlayStation 1. The WaveNet version of Ultimate is interesting because I was under the impression that that game was like internet rumor, that it had never actually existed.
No, dude, no. This thing has been like confirmed as having been a reality since like I used to have issues with tips and tricks, and one or two of them mentioned that like there was tests going on in Chicago, and there was a old picture of the machines that's been lost to time. But I've known that this existed for a long time, and there were like old school groups and Usenet discussions about this thing. It's always been real. I just didn't think I on my side I didn't think that like there were any machines left extant in order to dump the ROM from.
Yeah, like real in the sense that like Midway had a build, but not real as in it was ever going to be put out there. It's one of those things where it's like Star Fox 2 or Primal Rage 2, where you when it comes out you didn't think it would ever happen.
It's a lost holy grail of an item, and here we are.
The only thing that bothers me being missing, because I can understand not being able to emulate the Dreamcast. It is a level up from being able to emulate a PS1 or even a Nintendo 64, which
I think Gold is going to happen eventually. It just give them time.
Yeah, I think we might get Gold as DLC at some point. They've certainly done a bunch of DLC for their Atari 50 collection.
Yeah, I'm thinking you could do the 3D stuff as DLC or something.
Well, I would. If I were them, I would put out a collection 2, and that would have the 3D era.
Those 4 games are big enough on their own to justify
the only thing
a separate purchase.
Is like I would have probably put the Deadly Alliance Game Boy Advance games on that collection.
Yeah, I think I would have saved the Deadly Alliance Tournament Edition for that because it's awkward to have it in this grouping. The one thing, the one thing that I wish, and we may still get it as DLC, is the PlayStation 1 version of MK4. Because if you're not going to have Gold, then I'd at least like the only version of 4 I want to play is a version that has Goro and cheat codes.
Well, what I'm hoping...
And FMV endings.
Yes, the nicer endings. That's another thing.
Well, what would be nice is if they could do the N64 versions on the N64 Mature app on Switch 2.
Nice. I mean, that is one of the things they've mentioned in an interview is that the hardest part of making the game is making builds run on the Switch 1, which you would think. There are so many, like, Nintendo ports every game, every generation, so you would think that knowing how to port N64 games to the Switch would not be that...
Well, they have an N64 app, so clearly they can get N64 games.
Yeah, I just think, like, if Digital Clips could get that information, because, like, having a build of MK4 on the Nintendo's app is a little different from having, you know, the Mortal Kombat collection be complete.
Yeah, Granted, they could add that as DLC because I don't think they have the Game Boy version of MK4.
Knowing Nintendo, and I mean, you're seeing a trend here, right? The Game Boy version of MK4, and
Well,
like Nintendo are notoriously difficult to work with. And I believe it's been alluded to that they wanted to include Trilogy N64 on this, but it proved too difficult.
Well, the thing I find questionable about that is that clearly they got the Super Nintendo versions of the MK games in, so
they probably want to keep their own little exclusive version of Trilogy, which is different enough from all of the versions to constitute almost a different type of game. With Chameleon as their bonus, they probably want it to be like a Switch Online service exclusive or whatever the fuck. That's my best guess.
Well,
and
either way, I'll take it, whatever we get.
I mean, if it's up to Nintendo releasing things themselves, I don't think we'll ever see N64 Trilogy.
Yeah,
I mean, look, I'm in favor of a future where the only Trilogy people play is the PlayStation / etc. version. The N64 version has its followers, and there's a little bit in the Brian Craddock's Long Live MK book where he talks about the rise of tournaments scenes that are based around SNES UMK3 and N64 MK6, N64 MKT, specifically because they were much easier to pirate and distribute in cartridge form. Like, you could get them for really, really cheap in foreign lands. So that's why those things really have a lot of competitive scenes abroad. But the fact remains they are inferior.
Well,
yeah.
It just would be nice to see female Chameleon. That's the only thing that I'm attached to. Like,
look, man, if they can jerry rig, I'll say this the other day, if they can manage to somehow jerry rig a version of female Chameleon and put it on the PS version with some sort of voodoo magic, I don't care who you have to sacrifice to what gods. As far as I'm concerned, you do that, the N64 version is effectively obsolete unless you like playing broken ass Sub-Zero.
The other thing it had is fatalities for Khan and Motaro, but they were not exactly good.
Oh, they were terrible. They were just absolutely terrible. But
Actually,
Motaro was just a reused wind pose asset, but they slapped the head in his hand.
Yeah.
Terrible.
He just does his wind pose and the head cuts off.
Very unnaturally, might I add.
But Shao Kahn's was the first of, like, that fatality he has where he drives you into the ground with his hammer like a nail ended up being in every single goddamn game.
That did wind up being the genesis for a recurring fatality, which is weird.
Like that is apparently the Shao Kahn finisher, and I don't even like it.
The only other thing I can think of that's a real incentive to have the N64 version is like Nightwolf having different friendships and shit. The juggling of the tomahawks. That was only in that version for some weird reason.
Well, it's because his friendship was turning into Raiden because Raiden wasn't in the game, but now Raiden's in the game.
Smart move, honestly. Smart move.
Yeah, but in other news, Mortal Kombat movie just celebrated its 30th anniversary.
So it did.
That is true.
I sat down and I watched it, and I shed a few tears of happiness and nostalgia, and like a dipshit, I went onto eBay afterwards and I scored myself a Steelbook edition from Best Buy, which never made it to Canada. It comes with MK Annihilation for whatever that's worth.
I think the moment that made everybody lose their minds was when Reptile became a human.
Oh yeah, like I can tell you, like there were two specific moments that I carry forward from my theater viewing of it back in the day. That made people lose their shit. But like, the ninjas have always been the most popular ones. Was like when Shang Tsung like looks to his left on the boat and the door opens and Scorpion and Sub-Zero like slowly strut through. Like, you heard the entire audience going, "Scorpion, Sub-Zero!" Like, I remember that, and the sound of thrilled children everywhere. And like when the Reptile moment happened, when you heard the announcer, everyone screamed. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, people, I mean, I bring it up every time I have the opportunity, but people, I think, sleep on some of the things about the movie that make it so good. I mean, everybody knows, like, Yeah, it gave us like the Australian version of Kano and personalities for the characters that ended up being transplanted in the game. So it's it's left its mark as being like
Yeah,
an important part of MK history,
and,
as opposed
and
to newer video game movies. We've sort of over time, like the thing was, oh, all video game movies are terrible except Mortal Kombat, and then gradually over time, people started going, video game movies are a thing that exists. They're just completely mid. Like nobody really cares about like Michael Fassbender in Assassin's Creed or any of the Tomb Raider movies, the Lara Croft, any of the like Angelina Jolie ones or the reboot. Nobody really cares about.
I cared about the first one because Nine Inch Nails was on the soundtrack. That's why I still own that soundtrack.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
I mean, the only video game movies that are really good currently are the ones that have animated elements like Mario and Sonic.
yeah,
But what made it they all suck except Mortal Kombat was that it's not just like people talk about it now like, oh, it's dated, it's so 90s. No, you watch that movie. And the dialogue is a little cheesy, but it's supposed to be. That's that appropriate tone for the subject matter. The cinematography and the set design are like legitimately beautiful. Like it's a really well crafted for its budget. The things that we're able to achieve with the look of the film are insane. Like,
and, I love that Goro's actually an animatronic and not CGI.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
What
I
I love was like when fucking MK 2021 came out and people were so copium, you know, people were so desperate to love the new thing and go, oh, this Goro looks so much fucking better, and that lasted for almost a month before people were like, okay, yeah, there's like really obvious CG lines around.
2021 looks like a fan film. Like, I mean, you talk about, okay, yes, 95 has the CGI reptile, the lizard form. It's not great.
That's the only objectively thing.
That's the only one. Everything else, like there are shots in the movie of like Liu Kang's silhouette meditating on the beach and it's sunset. That's like a Michael Bay shot. That's like somebody who really at a high level cares about like the, every frame a painting kind of approach to filmmaking. Like the movie just looks good.
I should isolate that still and like put it as my desktop wallpaper or something.
And like you look at the trailer for the next movie, Cole Young Mortal Kombat 2. That film looks like everything was shot in front of a blue screen or like one of those augmented reality walls like they make The Mandalorian. The backgrounds are just cheap looking, and you compare that to the 95 movie and the locations they shot at and the sets they built for Shang's Island and the matte paintings for the sky in some scenes. It's like, that the moment Johnny Cage enters the movie where it's all silhouette and the warehouse doors are opening and you can see like Los Angeles palm trees and blue sky behind him. It looks so good.
And it sounds so good, too. Like, George Clinton's score for that movie is so fucking underrated and so beautiful.
The music.
It was entirely worthy of its own score release, and I'm so glad that they actually did that.
The music is so iconic, and there's very little, like, that's memorable about the music in, like, the competition, let's say.
I can't tell you anything that was on 2021. That was my big problem with like 2021. Like you could have at least bothered to give it a dynamic sounding soundtrack, but it's also generic.
Well, yeah, nobody really puts good music in movies anymore. Hans Zimmer kind of ruined the industry. It's all about atmospheric, just background noise now. Nobody wants to like let you hum things and remember stuff. It's supposed to be.
I love The Dark Knight and all, but that that fucking score is two womp womp. That's all it is. It's two notes.
Yeah. There's
That's
no
it.
I'm of the mind that reboot or no reboot, every single Batman movie should be using da-na-na-na-na. Like when a character has a theme song, that should transcend versions of the character
Mhm.
and be the theme song. That's why I'm so fucking happy that James Gunn's Superman uses the John Williams score.
Yep, it's a beautiful thing. And you know what? While we're talking about MK the movie, I don't think that people just sleep on it as a good video game movie. I think that people just sleep on it as a movie in general.
Yes,
Like, I
that's
think
what
that,
I'm
like,
saying.
what
The movie is cinema, it's Kino.
Are you sure we're not talking about Street Fighter or Annihilation? Are you sure? Because that's Kino doing.
I don't know.
But-
I enjoy the Van Damme Street Fighter movie as a guilty pleasure.
I like
enjoy-
Raul Julia in the Street Fighter movie.
Oh yeah.
I enjoy the Street Fighter movie as a deconstruction of a video game narrative. That's how I enjoy it.
Although Raul
So-
carries that movie for me.
He really does.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say was that, like, people, they do sleep on it as a good movie, probably because with the passage of time and tides, they kind of clusterfuck it with MK Annihilation, and they all just look back at it as, a couple of bad movies from back in the day. But, like, if there is one thing that this forthcoming MK Legacy Collection, which seems to be the second coming of Christ and several other deities to me, if there's one thing I hope comes from it, is that WB starts to friggin' realize that there is a legitimate interest and a passion out there for retro MK, and maybe we can get a couple of gears turning, and maybe people will contact other people and go, hey, maybe there's some, like, deleted scenes, or, like, we can restore the commentary from the Laserdisc into, like, a new home version of MK95, or Annihilation, or both. Because I don't think that those things have ever really received, like, the kind of home video releases that they would truly merit.
I mean,
It would be very nice.
It's difficult because we live in an age where, like, physical media and, DVDs with behind the scenes content is dying, and it does suck that we've never gotten that for the MK movies.
This is true, but I will point out that a few years ago, the Super Mario Brothers movie received, like, an Ultra HD 4K restoration, and there's some bonus features on it and shit, and the market is there. Like, if we can do that for that movie, why not MK? That's all I'm saying.
I do wonder, because we know Annihilation has a little bit of deleted scenes content, particularly the ending with Quan Chi and Shinnok.
Yeah.
I don't know if there even are deleted scenes for 95. Like,
Well, we know there's alternate footage. We know about, like, the monk on the beach with the stitched up mouth. There's that cinematic trailer where, like, Lou's and Chang's dialogue is different.
Yeah, there's like a shot here, a different take there. I don't think there's any, like...
There was supposed to be a scene where they buried Art Lean under a statue of Kung Lao, but that never got...
Well, that's the thing, is that anything we know was cut out of MK95 and Annihilation, most of that was just never shot. Because, like, if you have the novelization of the movie, that's based on the shooting script. So there are a lot of different scenes in it. Like, there's the bit with the monks with the sewn-up mouths. There's... Sonya was supposed to fight Jade in the first movie, and Jade's just that, like, I don't think they ever even casted Jade because they decided not to film that. And I wonder if that was cut for time or if it was cut based on the casting of Bridget Wilson and the realization that she wasn't going to be able to do a lot of martial arts.
Well, because
She just
their original
kicked
choice
me in
was
the
Sonya
face.
got hurt, so they were like...
Yeah. Cameron Diaz was supposed to play Sonya, but she broke her hand during training, so Bridget Wilson was a last-minute recast.
I think we dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, I don't like Cameron Diaz when around the time of when she first got hot, when There's Something About Mary came out. I thought that movie was fucking terrible. I don't know why everybody was so, like...
I'll say this much.
Hot on that movie when it came out.
My favorite Jim Carrey movie is, to this day, The Mask, and she is, if you'll pardon me, smoking in that movie.
Yeah, no,
But
she looks good, but
she's not. I don't see Sonya when I look at her. I don't think that would have been good casting.
yeah. we know that there was supposed to be, so the Johnny Cage versus Goro fight was supposed to be a lot longer. Like you've got the scene on the beach where Johnny's talking to Sonya, and she's like, "Don't fight him just to protect me or whatever. That's stupid and macho, and I don't want it." And he's like, "Don't worry, I've got a plan." The plan was Johnny was going to lead Goro into the warrior shrine and hide behind the statues to like dodge him. And every time Goro would miss a punch, Johnny would hit him in the hand with a chain and break his hand.
Yep.
So that's why when they get to the end of the fight and Goro's hanging off a cliff by one hand, he can't pull himself up because his other three hands are supposed to be broken.
I was noticing on the Blu-ray the other night, there's actually kind of a really awkward cut where he roundhouses him and he's like starts to take a tumble towards the side of the mountain. There's like, it's just you don't even see him go all the way over.
Yeah.
He just like teeters to the side and then it cuts in and he's already hanging down. I never really actually noticed that before.
Yeah. A lot of that, like the reason that fight was so cut down is because the Goro animatronic couldn't handle it. Like it was a janky machine. It was difficult to get it to do things. So they had to like use it as little as they could and still get the footage.
So what they did was they just showed footage of Goro, like the people getting knocked off screen by Goro, which just got the point across that he's pretty tough.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing, is that like most of this stuff was never shot, so there are no deleted scenes to show us, as far as I'm aware.
That we know of.
We also know, like, Annihilation had some deleted content that was just never shot, I'm pretty sure. Like, when Lou goes to Nightwolf, and Nightwolf's like, there's 3 tests to unleash your animality.
Yeah.
The first
and
one's
then he
courage.
he only does one test, like, which is to have a dream after Nightwolf knocks him out, throwing a hatchet in his face.
Yeah.
And then he thinks Jade is a second test, but Jade is actually there to trick him and fuck with him. There was supposed to be another test where Nightwolf would bury Lou up to his neck in the sand and he'd be covered in scorpions or spiders or whatever. And that wasn't shot because Robin Shou refused to do it.
Don't blame him.
Yeah.
Who wants to be covered in scorpions?
Yeah.
Get them off me. So another thing that was in the script but never shot, Rain mentions Cabal and Stryker, and he let them live.
And they were supposed to make an appearance later.
Yes. Kitana was supposed to be like the bird cage she's hanging from in Khan's little war room. That cage was actually supposed to be located in the cobalt mines of Shokan, which is where Khan keeps prisoners. And when Lou goes to rescue her, he was also supposed to find Cabal and Stryker, and all of them would stage a jailbreak. But that was cut from the movie, and I don't think ever filmed.
Yeah. And so that just leaves the Cabal and Stryker referred to as like an awkward leftover.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they just kind of like put Baraka. Was Baraka a last-minute character in Annihilation? I think he was.
I guess so. I mean, I don't remember if Tarkatans were supposed to be part of that jailbreak of the Cabal and Stryker version or not.
I think Shiva was supposed to get an actual fight scene.
Yes, Shiva was actually supposed to fight, but whatever method they did to give that actress 4 arms, I think she had like puppet arms on stage, and then they were replaced by CGI in post.
That sounds right.
It was probably too complicated for 1997's technology to really give her much to do.
So she just gets squished by a cage.
Mostly budget, I would imagine, is the problem there. So yeah.
There are, if I'm remembering right from the novelization, something like a few more Tarkatans or Barakas, because that word didn't exist back then.
Yeah, that's
like Liu Kang was fighting. It was like one after the other one, and then like Baraka's the last one, if I'm remembering right.
Well, the interesting thing is that in the first movie, the script calls Shang Tsung's hooded guards Barakas. Like, obviously, they don't have bone spurs coming out of their forearms, but maybe they were meant to have Baraka faces under the hoods, and we would just never see it.
He is called a Barakas, like all his people are. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba.
Well, I think we're supposed to be talking about deception. We haven't gotten to that yet, have we?
Well, yeah, you wanted to talk about the movie, so we talked about the movie.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's still one of my favorite MK things. That's all I'll say.
Did anyone else put me watch for the 30th? Am I the only one?
I didn't watch the whole movie. I went through like a few choice scenes.
My favorite scene is probably like non-action scene. It's the part where Johnny's like, "Hey, pal, can you put these on the boat?" And Lou's like, "You want me to carry your luggage?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I pay money. You carry the bags. Whereas that dude complained, "No, I got it." Takes his luggage and throws it in the water.
I can't pick a single favorite scene, but like on this last rewatch, I was just like appreciating the Robin Shoe shit-eating grin that he has every time he interacts with Johnny for the first 45 minutes of the movie. Just another starstruck fan. Shoulder punch.
That's an underappreciated thing, is how much personality Robin Shoe gives Liu Kang, because
he's wonderful.
There are characters that even in the current games, particularly Liu Kang and Raiden, have a tendency to be very dry. NRS writes them dry, and the voice actors either don't have much to work with or are the kind of people who are not good at imbuing personality. Like, I'm personally not a fan of Richard Epcar in general.
Yeah,
that's neither here nor there. But
like you said, that's just Ed doesn't really like Raiden as anything more than stoic and serious, I guess.
Yeah, but I think like that kind of shows, like, when I think of what a wise mentor character should be, the first thing that comes to my mind is Yoda in Empire Strikes Back. The first time Liu meets him, he's, I'm looking for Yoda. He's a great warrior. Can you show me where he is? Like, he mistakes the Yoda he meets for like a weird little native of Dagobah, and he's like, this couldn't possibly be the old Jedi I'm looking for, because
Yoda was just testing.
He's a tiny goofy Muppet, and Yoda. Cause that's the thing. Yoda, he's a wise mentor, but he's got a sense of humor. Even after he reveals himself as I'm the guy you're looking for, I'm the one who can teach you to be a Jedi, he's still like smacking him on the head with a cane, and he's got a personality. Okay, these characters, movies are made to entertain an audience, not to put them to sleep. You know what I mean? You have to make your characters interesting, and the game's versions of Liu and Raiden are sadly not interesting as often as they could be. And I think, because, you talk about, well, Ed maybe found Christopher Lambert too comedic. If you really pay attention to that movie, Lambert only has like 3 or 4 one-liners, actually. He's not even that funny. He's got the right attitude, he does give them like a lot of serious advice and tells them about grave circumstances. He's not quipping to take away the tension like in a Marvel movie. He's just a guy with a personality. He's just an interesting person. He's still Raiden.
Yeah, he's like, I don't think so. That's something I want game Raiden to do.
Yeah, he'll laugh at them because the world depends on you 3 losers. That's, good luck with that. But then he'll also be like, now listen, if you fuck this up, you're all gonna die. He's serious as a heart attack when he's like whispering in their ear, hey, you have character flaws, and if you don't get over them, you're not gonna win this tournament. He's telling like the fate of the world is more important than your ego or your enemy, your quest for revenge. Like, that's a serious scene, and he's a serious character in it. He can do it because Christopher Lambert is actually a pretty good actor.
Yeah. But yeah, well, just I don't know, why didn't he come back for Annihilation, Lambert?
Because he read the script and he didn't
Yeah.
like it.
The same reason Lyndon Ashby didn't come. I die in the first 10. Fuck this shit.
Yeah. Like I've straight up, he'll say it in interviews. Like there's on YouTube, there's interviews with Christopher Lambert where he's like signing autographs at a convention, and someone asks him, "Why didn't you come back for the second movie?" And he's like, "Because I read the script and I said it was bad. And I told the producer that you need more time. You're rushing it too much. The script needs another draft, and they didn't listen to me, so I didn't come back."
Why didn't Bridget Wilson come back?
And I went up to the producers and I said, "I don't think so."
Yeah. Was Scorpion supposed to do something in Annihilation? Because he basically just disappears after he fights Sub-Zero.
I don't know. I think that's all we were gonna get.
Yeah.
You know, the problem, the big problem with Annihilation.
Anything else in the Annihilation novel either, from what I remember. He just fights Sub-Zero, kidnaps Katana, and that's it. He's done.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with Annihilation, other than the budget and the fact that, you know, they cut a bunch of people, like the director is a different director, the writer is a different writer, and all those things are to save money. But the big problem, other than all the budget and rushing, is that the Annihilation reveals that when you're making a movie, you can't have the entire game's roster. All right? There's too many people. You have to cut back.
You're already basing this on a game whose story cannot be done in a single 2-hour movie. This is, for this sheer amount of shit, I've said it time and time before, and I will say it again, you need a miniseries to portray everything that happens in MK3.
It would have at least helped. It would have helped if they had made 3 movies instead of 2, because then you could put some of the characters in the second one instead of having them in, you know.
The only way MK3 gets filmed start to finish is if Peter Jackson is doing it, and it goes straight to DVD.
Well,
and it's 5 hours.
The Van Damme Street Fighter had the exact same problem. If you watch like any kind of like documentary or behind the scenes kind of like. I'm a big fan of the Matt McMuscle series, What Happened?
Yep.
It goes into like behind the scenes of movies and video games that maybe had something wrong with them. And in the Street Fighter one, he interviews he has pieces of interviews with like the writer and other people. And it's one thing the writer says is that when he was writing the movie for Capcom, he told them, look, there's too many characters. The movie's not going to make sense if I put every single World Warrior from Super Turbo into this movie like you want me to do. And at first they agreed, all right, you can cut it back and just put in whoever's essential. And then with every draft, they forced him to squeeze more characters in. And that's why Dalzim is a laboratory scientist.
And the sad thing is you have Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, showing us that most of these people don't need more than one scene.
No, you could just you could have just had, you know, little bits here and there of Ryu fighting these guys in tournament or what. Well, that's the other thing about the movie. Like, so Street Fighter content usually positions Ryu as the main character and follows his perspective. But the live action movie chose to look at the Street Fighter plot and make Guile the main character. And there is some sense to this, because while Ken and Ryu are kind of the main characters, they're not necessarily the main story. Like, there's a weird thing with Street Fighter where it's basically the premise of a G.I. Joe cartoon.
Yeah.
Except there's also these 2 karate guys we follow. It's like
that's the thing. I would actually add the connection to Bison, the main villain.
I would define it this way: is that Guile's and Chun-Li's plot lines, the kind of "I lost someone important to me, now I'm on a quest for revenge or justice," is more immediately identifiable and relatable to most movie-going audiences than the likes of "I'm going to just fight everyone I can and get stronger."
Yeah, the weird.
It's not familiar ground for most folks out there.
Yeah, I mean, the plot of Street Fighter is the governments of the world versus Shadaloo. So why are these two karate guys fighting in tournaments the main characters? Like, they don't. Ken and Ryu don't actually have anything to do with Bison and Shadaloo, except that Bison wants to kidnap the best fighters and then, like, I don't know, brainwash them to be his soldiers.
Yeah.
You know how Shadaloo actually went down, like, the first 2 times in the games? In
Mostly
Alpha 3,
Charlie.
no, in Alpha 3 in Alpha 3 it happens because he tries to brainwash Ryu, and Ryu just, like, snaps out of it after remembering Sagat and Sakura and Ken inspiring him, and he blows up Bison with a giant fuck off Hadouken at the end of Alpha 3. That's the canonical ending for it. By the
Yeah,
time
that
of
is the
Street
thing,
Fighter
like-
2, Bison's Shadaloo was supposed to be kind of, sort of, not in tatters, but not what it once was. And it's kind of implied that the Street Fighter 2 tournament is also kind of a way for Bison to get revenge on everyone who kind of fucked him over. It's been Ryu fucking Bison over the entire time in the games.
Yeah, that is, like, they keep giving him, like, they keep taking these government versus Shadaloo stories and then shoving Ryu in at the end as the guy who beats Bison.
That happens in Street Fighter 5.
It's, technically Akuma beats Bison into...
That is how the end of 2 happens.
But, like,
Akuma
it's
comes out
because
and
he wants
Satsu's
to
in.
fight Ryu, because Ryu was
Yeah.
about to fight Bison. So technically, Ryu is responsible for Bison's defeat in 2, and then he kills Bison in 4, and then he kills Bison in 5. He just keeps doing it.
There
And
is...
Bison just keeps coming back somehow.
From
But-
Street Fighter 3, though, there was a line that I think was in one of Yurian's win quotes where he's like, if he beats Chun-Li or something like this, it's like, oh, so you're the one who took down that organization. So even if Ryu took down Bison over and over again, it's supposed to be, I think, Chun-Li and probably also Guile who are responsible for
Well,
Shadow's destruction
isn't
of the
it in
organization.
Alpha 2, like, yes, Ryu blows up Bison's shit, but didn't Guile and Chun-Li destroy the Psycho Drive?
Well,
That's in Alpha 3.
Well,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, Charlie's Alpha 2 ending is the canonical version of how
Yeah, Charlie in
Yeah.
Alpha 3 is the equivalent of Classic Sub-Zero in MK Trilogy, for those of us who understand what that means. And Ultimate MK 3. Charlie in Alpha 3 is a non-canon character, and he shouldn't be there because he dies via being shot to death by a helicopter in the Alpha 2 ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the point is, like, the writer of the movie, looking at these characters, he did the smart thing. And he said, okay, so the main characters are like Guile and Chun-Li. They're the ones who are really after Shadaloo. And then I also have to shove these Ken and Ryu assholes in here as some kind of B-plot.
Yeah.
But with every draft, they'd make him add more characters, and that's why you get Honda as a news reporter cameraman, and DJ is on the Shadaloo team, and Zangief is one of the bad guys. He just kept making them add more characters, and that's why a lot of them aren't doing what they do in the games because they were just awkwardly shoved in there.
Or,
I'm not gonna lie, man.
Technically, at the time, Charlie being Blanca wasn't incorrect.
No, at the time, it was still a what the fuck? That makes absolutely no sense. Because Charlie was supposed to have been a dead guy. In
Yeah.
Super Turbo, Guile visits his ending. It was ridiculed even back in the day. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, as
was-
a kid, everybody, even someone like me, who I didn't play Street Fighter as a kid, I was, very dedicated to MK, and there was sort of a competition between the two. It was sort of like, are you a fan of Star Trek or are you a fan of Star Wars back in the day? Like, it was one or the other. You couldn't be both.
Yeah.
But even I knew Charlie's not fucking Blanca.
And thus it was when Classic Sub-Zero removed his mask. Underneath was Johnny Cage.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's my point. Is like when you're making these movies, you can't have all 30 fucking characters.
You can if you plan it out from the beginning and not.
Yeah,
do it live action.
if you
See, this is why I say the Street Fighter 2 animated movie is so fucking one. You don't need DJ to be like in the background of every fucking shot, like being a minor cast member. You just need him being like having this huge shit-eating grin on screen for 3 minutes. If
Although-
you guys don't be appreciating my music, you just best get your sorry asses out of here.
I will say
Hey.
that in spite of the fact that the DJ in the movie is not a character that exists in the games,
He is a delight. He's amazing.
DJ is one of the best characters in the movie.
Oh yeah. Oh no, he's like, that's great news, General. Congratulations.
On the contrary, I weep. Okay.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, all right, whatever the fuck. Fuck me then.
I should have never left Microsoft, man.
My favorite DJ. It's like it's after Zangief goes, quick, change the channel. It's that little slow turn DJ gives. He's like,
they're all fucking looking at him at that moment, like, are you for real, man? Oh, I will say this while we're on the fucking topic. Capcom knows that Sagat's outfit in that movie is pimpin', because they've basically given him a black version of it in Street Fighter 6 and some of his like incidental story pictures and shit. They know Sagat in a suit gets the ladies going. We're gonna get that shit as DLC if we haven't already. As a matter of fact, let me go look. Hang on. I feel like it's out there. Sagat suit.
But yeah, if you look through Annihilation, really pay attention to that movie, you will notice that the majority of the characters they have forced into the narrative don't even get their names said.
or Melina is just Katana? You wish.
Yeah, no, the name Melina is never actually spoken, nor is any like, who was that and why did she look like Katana? No explanation. Yeah. Nobody talks to Katana about her pink lookalike.
Yeah, and also, and I think this is a plot twist that John Tobias hated. Raiden and Shao Kahn are brothers.
Yeah. I mean,
John wasn't the only one who disliked that. I'm gonna tell you that now.
No, it's famously not a great creative choice. Although, from that choice, we did get the fact that Raiden and Khan were both played by Jeffrey Meek in Conquest, and he is the best actor in that show and does an amazing job in both roles.
But I can tell you right now, the reaction to that, because the internet was a thing that existed in its early forms in 1997, there was fan interaction. I can tell you right now that the reaction to Shao Kahn, Raiden, and his brothers at that period of time was, that's stupid, that makes no sense, what the fuck?
Yeah. I think John Tobias even said, I remember he even go as far as to say, yeah, I was actually pretty pissed when that showed up in Raiden's MK versus DC bio. And he's like, was that you, John Vogel?
Run screaming.
Yeah, there's some weird shit with versus DC where they tried to use the movies as a reference point instead of the games.
Strange game.
I think someone on the team must have figured, well, we're going to have a lot of DC Comics people playing this game who don't know MK, and it's more likely that they've seen the movies than that they've played the games. But it just doesn't make sense. And it's like, if you're going to bring in a bunch of new fans with your crossover, maybe you should be trying to teach those people what's in the games. Maybe that's the approach you should be taking.
Would be nice, wouldn't it?
Because the thing is, they never called it Raiden and Shao Kahn brothers in that story.
No. They, I mean, so the thing is that in actual official canon, and this was added after Tobias left, it was a Vogel thing. In Deception, they say that Raiden and Shao Kahn, they don't call them brothers, they say they're the same species, as in Raiden is the protector god of Earthrealm, and Shao Kahn was a god of Outworld before he gave up godhood to become the Emperor.
He was basically supposed to be the protector of Outworld before.
Yes, he was. So they're only related in the sense that they were both created by the Elder Gods. They're not actually family. They don't, see each other at reunions and go to picnics together. And
no awkward Thanksgiving
exchange Christmas presents.
Like
they don't.
Raiden and Fujin being brothers, that kind of makes sense.
Yes, Raiden, Fujin, and the other gods of Earthrealm at least would spend time together and have a reason to think of each other as family. You wouldn't have that with gods from any other realm.
We're not talking about Deception tonight, are we?
Yeah, probably not.
Well, we could talk. How long have we been going?
About 45 minutes.
Do you want to spend another hour and a half?
You know what? I'm gonna just say no. We can just shoot the shit here tonight and get all the movie talk out of the way.
Yeah.
Because look, I'm gonna say this. I have not slept well the past couple of nights.
I can relate to that.
Last night, as soon as I came back from working late, you and I, Razor, we hopped on and did an episode of Arkham.
Yeah.
I went to work at 8 a.m. this morning after finally falling asleep somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 a.m. Not particularly well rested at the moment. I'm quite tired.
Yeah.
Then I get all this wonderful, amazing news about the Legacy Collection.
Yeah. I think it's also, we've been talking about the main game story for quite a bit, so I guess we can take a little break from that.
Just for a bit, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
There's a lot going on, and my brain is very tired.
Yeah. Actually,
But you guys covered Shujinko and Deception Conquest.
Yes, we
time,
did.
yes?
We did Conquest last time, so we'd just be talking about the bios and endings, the main.
See, that's it. Like you really did not need me there, because I know that once Conquest comes up in Deception, Razor is just going to talk for an hour and a half. That's not a criticism.
Yeah,
It's just the truth.
The
I don't have
thing
much
is,
more to contribute.
We have a pinned post in the lore channel of our Discord where I list in chronological order the events of the bios and endings of Deception. I'd just be reading that list. That's the rest of the episode if we do it tonight.
yeah. But
Also,
that list is 22 paragraphs long. I mean, they're short paragraphs. They're little blurbs. Like, then Cabal did this, then Scorpion did that, then Tanya did this, but it's 22 points, bullet points.
probably not got to get for all that in an hour.
Yeah, we don't have to do that tonight.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think my I don't blame Lyndon Ashby for being like, wait, I die in the first 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm not coming back.
I mean, he does die in Trilogy. They were just adapting the game, but they could have put it later in the fucking movie.
Yeah. Well, why didn't Bridget Wilson come back?
Nobody's ever asked her, but I have to presume that she also read the script and didn't care for the film.
I feel like she was doing something else.
That might have been scheduling. She might have been in something else.
I mean,
but
Sonya looks like a totally different person at the.
I do have to say, like, Sonya has a meaty part in the second movie. There would have been plenty for her to do. Like,
it is a shame she didn't come back.
One of the characters with the most screen time.
Yeah, one of my favorite. Actually, one of the only good things I'll say about Annihilation is that I do like Jax's character development.
Yes,
Look, Lynn Red Williams is to date, I think, the best Jax we've ever gotten.
Lynn Williams elevates Annihilation almost the same way that Raul Julia elevates Street Fighter.
Honestly, he's a treat to watch. He brings this joie de vivre to every scene he's in. He's fun to watch. He's fun to listen to. It's fun to hear him rant. He radiates this incredible sense of like confidence and self-assurance that the movie actually does an adequate job of saying, this is kind of cover for innermost insecurities. And Razor, I know you're not so much of a fan of that angle, but I think he sells it very well. That's what I'm saying. So Lynn Red Williams is like far and away one of my most favorite parts of Annihilation.
Yeah.
And had there been a third movie, I would have loved him to come back.
Yeah, I think he was just one thing I love that I think I've talked about this is that, I like how his metal arms are just sleeves he puts on because he has confidence issues, or else nowadays he just has to lose his arms because gore.
Yeah, I mean that was the original story, was that they were attachments. They were just to make him stronger. He never got his arms ripped off, although people would ask, even when we were kids and the game came out, how did he lose his arms? It's ironic because he used to rip off people's arms. Maybe somehow it happened to him. But yeah, the story was always, those things can be detached. Like, he's got an alt costume at Deadly Alliance where he's not wearing them.
Yeah.
We have these conversations about why didn't Bridget Wilson or Christopher Lambert come back. You want to know why? You want to know what I want to know? Like, was Francois Petit really that busy he couldn't come back to be another Sub-Zero? Or like, Because it wouldn't have mattered. Like they could have just unmasked the dude, or like.
Well, I know.
I just wonder.
Chris Casamassa didn't come back as Scorpion because of scheduling conflicts with Batman and Robin. When look how that movie turned out.
Yeah, I don't think there was a priority to them to bring back the same stunt people because they're just stunt people.
Yeah, because
I mean, I'm just saying, I would have taken them.
Yeah, anybody could be under the mask. So
I mean, the guy who played Reptile came back.
I got nothing against Keith Cook. He was a fine Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just
disappears
after for some reason after he fights Scorpion. I don't know.
Why. I think the reason they moved him from playing Reptile to playing Sub-Zero is specifically because Lou versus Reptile was the best fight scene in the first movie, and they wanted to make sure that Scorpion versus Sub-Zero would be one of the best fights in the movie.
Yeah, they don't explain why Scorpion's back, because it's like, you see him blow up in the first one, but then
the Scorpion has no backstory in the movies, but if you know him from the games, you know he's already dead, so there's no reason he couldn't come back.
Whereas, Sub-Zero, they explicitly say, "Yeah, you killed my older brother." I think that's again one of the problems with Annihilation, and although this one actually kind of is in the first movie too, is just, when you have so many characters and you don't tell the audience who they are and why we should care, like, what is this guy's backstory, what are his powers, and why does he have them? But they just assume people know this guy from the games. They know he's a dead guy. It's whatever. Yeah. Who played Jax in the first movie? I think he passed away young.
Did he?
The guy who played Jax in the first movie, yeah.
Let me see. Jax, who they for some reason spell as Jax with 2 X's in the credits.
Yeah, they spell with 2 X's in the credits.
Gregory McKinney is who plays Jax. Did he die?
Yes, he did.
Aww.
He died in 1998.
98? Jesus, that's not recent then.
Brain aneurysm, it says.
Jesus. That's sad.
Yeah, he was only 41.
That is after they made Annihilation. So I think they just didn't ask him back because Jax was going to be a much bigger part, so they wanted to audition new actors.
Also, Gregory doesn't look particularly buff. Jax needs to be buff, and no offense to the dear departed, but Gregory didn't exactly look like he was a professional bodybuilder like Linwood Williams did.
Yeah.
He had a figure.
Well, I mean, Jax was basically a cameo in the first movie.
Yeah.
Don't get on that thing. Hey, Sonia! Don't get on that thing!
Yeah. Well, I mean, Trevor Goddard's performance as Kano just became the iconic way of Kano was portrayed.
He wasn't even... Trevor Goddard is not Australian?
Yeah. Well, he's no longer with us, sadly.
He's English. His Cockney accent was mistaken for Australian, and it landed him more roles, so he
was like, I just went with it because work is work.
Yeah, he's just... hey, if they think I'm Australian and it gets me a job, let them.
Well, actually, I want to talk about the Kano and Goro scene when the Kano's, like, eating. It's like, yeah, that's kind of like where you get the idea that Kano doesn't have, like, much in the way of, like, dignity or anything like that. He's just, like, being all disgusting.
Goddard apparently portrayed Kano as Cockney English, but people just thought he was Australian. So people... Oh, God, wow. Kano is Australian in the games because of a series of misinterpretations. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and Kano's a Japanese name, too.
Well, I still think you could make it work. Like, so Kano's original backstory is that his mom was American, and she had left him abandoned in Japan. So he's theoretically half Japanese, half white. If you just changed the mom to Australian and kept everything else the same, it still works.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was supposed to be, like, part Japanese because the Black Dragon Gang was supposed to be sort of like the Yakuza.
Yeah.
And those vibes are still kind of there. So there's, you don't have to change anything.
Yeah. But But whatever like I said, with Kano and Goro scene, I think that's where you kind of get a lot of Kano's character. Like you just see him, like he's eating, stuffing his face. He's like no regard for manners or dignity, as Shang Tsung says.
When when I was watching it the other night, Jen sat down, like kind of half watched it with me, and one thing that we seized upon that she liked, because she doesn't remember the movie, like she's seen it when it came out, and she watched it with me over at a friend's house about, I don't know, 12 years ago. But it's not like, it's a casual thing for her. She's paying half attention to. She doesn't know it like we do it. But one thing she seized on instantly, and like she was like, I love how when Goro says disgusting, he's not talking about the narrative that Kano's putting forward. He's talking about Kano.
Yeah, he's
right?
watching him eat.
Yeah, that's it. It's great.
Yeah. I love when Goro starts walking towards Kano. Kano's like, I'm kind of an underground boss myself, back home. How
lucky for them.
Back
home.
Yeah, it really gets across. Okay, there's two guys in this scene. One of them's a human being, and the other is a weird alien monster who you would assume to be like a big dumb brute. But Goro's royalty, and Kano has no table manners. And so that's the actual dichotomy here, is that Kano's the gross brute.
You know what else I noticed about that scene, actually? I didn't think I really picked it up on it before or forgot. Was that, like, there's a part where after Goro gets up from the chair and starts walking over to the table, one of his lower arms is, like, reaching for a turkey leg or some shit, and they just cut away to Kano looking at him. That fucking thing couldn't handle any kind of weight. Oh, that's such a shame. I would have loved to see him like try to eat a fucking drumstick casually.
Yeah. I would like to, you would think that given 30 years of technological advancement, if there was somebody out there to make a movie today that used animatronics instead of CGI, the animatronics should be a lot better.
Yeah. And well, what I love about in that scene when Shang Tsung, I think there was supposed to be an abandoned, like Shang Tsung has a particular interest in Sonya, and apparently that was an abandoned subplot or something.
I don't know what they abandoned from it, because it's all still in there. Like he's obviously like lusting after her whenever he looks at her. He takes her hostage at the end of the movie specifically because he wants her. It's all still there.
Yeah, but it's like the one thing about Kerry. How do you say his name? I can't.
Tagawa, Kerry Hiroyuki Tagawa.
Yeah, Kerry Hiroyuki Tagawa. Yeah, that's hard to say. Like it's the one thing about his Shang Tsung that I think people don't care for, his lust for Sonya.
Well, I mean, it is strange, and I was thinking about that as I was watching it, but like. We've never really gotten much of an insight into like Shang's preferences one way or another.
I would call
the
it
way he treats Sonya is out of the question for him.
I would call it underwritten, but I would also say that it's there for a reason, and that reason is so the 95 movie is a hybrid of MK1 and MK2. At the end of the film, Sonya is captured and taken to Outworld, and the heroes must go to Outworld in order to finish the tournament.
Yeah.
And that's where Katana becomes most important to the plot. That's basically all of those elements are from MK2. So they needed to write a reason for Sonya to be kidnapped into the fucking movie, and that's all it is.
Yeah, Shang Tsung just likes her. I mean, they do say that, yeah, in the movie, like, he wants to challenge her for an easy win, but she has to accept it, or it can't happen.
I mean, you would think that counts as a forfeit, but there are still people in the tournament bracket who haven't been defeated yet, so it's stuck at a stalemate until you deal with Liu and Johnny.
Basically, he's a coward. He doesn't want to fight Liu Kang.
Yeah, but the agreement that he made to I get to choose my challenger at the end of the tournament. It does make the rules janky because the premise is as long as Sonya doesn't agree to the fight, then the fight can't happen, which means the tournament can't end and it's just stuck forever until somebody agrees to fight Shang Tsung.
They define a rule here or there, but they don't really go into detail about what happens when everyone refuses to fight.
I'm just saying, what if
there should be a certain amount of control over that.
If Sonya never says yes for the entire rest of her life, and Lou and Johnny don't go to Outworld to rescue her, then Earthrealm is safe because the tournament never finishes. They could just leave it for 100 years.
At what point does like a gigantic heavenly light come down from the heavens and you just hear these spectral voices, "We're calling this thing. She said no, dude. It's over, go home."
If she says no and there are no other challengers, that should count as a forfeit and Shag should win the tournament.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, I think he tries to challenge Johnny Cage after the gig is up.
But what I'm saying is, what if Lou and Johnny didn't go after her? What if it was just her?
Yeah.
I guess her refusing to fight would become a forfeit then. It's only because they go after her that somebody else is able to fight Shag.
Yeah.
But it would just be funny if it just hung. Like the tournament just doesn't finish and Sonya dies of old age having never accepted the fight.
Just comes back once a day, every day. "I'm going to keep asking until you say yes, sweet Sonya." God, will you piss off already? I already told you no 89 times.
You know, that brown leather dress he puts her in is ugly as sin. Where did he get that?
It's terrible. It's so bad.
It's not even sexy.
It puffs up like over the boobs and under the shoulders. It's not attached to anything over the shoulders. It's
like it's made of leather, so presumably it's supposed to be like a almost BDSM looking. You don't have anything more sexy than that in your trunk of weird dresses to force women to wear.
God, honestly.
Yeah. Well, because I think while we're talking about Johnny, I think Lyndon Ashby's performance, I think, just became the iconic Johnny Cage portrayal.
I mean, Johnny is one of the few characters in the movie where you could say the portrayal they gave him makes sense, being as like, this is what the game's always intended anyway.
Yeah, he was the one that first brought it out.
Yeah, the whole bit is that he's the comedy relief sidekick. He's a cocky actor from Hollywood. It kind of writes itself. But I do think, like, you talk about, the casting process at the beginning and how, like, they were looking at Brandon Lee to play Johnny, but then Brandon died filming The Crow and all that kind of thing. And it's like, I like Brandon Lee, but I don't think he would have been as good a Johnny as Lyndon Ashby. I really do think that Ashby...
It's the same thing as Cameron Diaz as Sonya. Like,
yeah.
I don't think you want people who are too established to play MK characters in general like this. They work best when it's relative unknowns. You don't have preconceptions about people coming in and taking on these roles.
Yeah, I look at the trailer for the new one, and I just see, that's Judge Dredd playing Johnny Cage. He's doing the same voice.
Well, or Billy Butcher.
Well, it's Billy Butcher with an American accent, and I've heard Carl Urban do his American accent before. He played Dr. McCoy in the Star Trek movies, and he did American basically for Judge Dredd. But when he's doing his American accent, especially like as he's gotten older, that voice, he doesn't really have a lot of range. The way he plays Johnny Cage, the way his voice sounds is so deep and gravelly, he just sounds like he's playing Judge Dredd, even though Dredd,
I just think he's not, again, not to shit on the guy, I think he's too old for the part.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
If he was at the age he was at when he was playing Eomer, literally over 20 years ago, I'd say, sure, okay, you could maybe do this. But since then, not only is he Eomer, he's also been fucking Leonard McCoy for a couple of movies and Judge Dredd, and I just don't think that he was right for the part. Maybe he'll do, like, if you're straight doing an MKX movie, then sure, fine, it'd be more
Yes,
open
he
about it. I
like
just
that.
don't
They
think
seem
it works.
the new movies pull too much from X and 11. Like my biggest complaint with them, both in how they look and how they're the choices they've made and how they portray the characters, costumes and story choices. They draw too much from the last 2 or 3 games and nearly nothing from the first 7. And it's there's this whole history of Mortal Kombat stuff, and you're just looking at the most recent ones, and that's I don't even like the most recent games, so no wonder all these costumes suck to me, and no wonder and there's also this has sort of been a running theme in portrayals of Johnny Cage and adaptations that goes back to the Legacy web series. Is they always when they do Johnny's backstory, the idea keeps being that he's old and washed up, as opposed to being that he's an action movie star who's trying to prove he doesn't use stunt doubles.
Yeah.
It's always got they wanted Johnny Cage to be an older guy in this movie so they could say that he had a career in the 90s and now we're going to make fun of the 90s.
Yeah, and he's an old past his prime actor, basically.
Yeah. And okay, so if he's old now, how are you gonna have him and Sonya have a kid? What's he gonna look like when Cassie's around?
We did this shit in Legacy too, man. I am not fond of the whole idea of Johnny as a washed-up, shitty B-movie actor.
Yeah.
It's contrary to the point.
It's supposed to reflect the career of where someone like Jean-Claude Van Damme was in the 80s.
Not now. It's I don't want to say it, but we both know. We're all thinking it. It's not supposed to be washed up Jean-Claude Van Damme from today.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my issue is that they seem to be making him into the main hero of that movie. It's
well, I would also suggest I don't think Carl Urban necessarily has the martial arts chops, because it looks very obvious that they're replacing him with a stuntman whenever he gets into a fight scene.
Yeah.
And that's just from the trailer. If it's obvious in the trailer, how bad's it going to be in the actual movie? He does a split, and you only either see him from behind or an extreme close-up on his face. You never see him doing a split in a shot where you can tell Carl Urban is doing a split, because Carl Urban can't do a split.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I think that's here's a story. I was seeing the movie with my dad and sister, the '95 movie, when I was 7 years old at the time. When Johnny did the nut punch on Goro, my dad actually started laughing.
That is the proper response.
I just love how he winces and holds his hand afterwards. He's like, damn, that hurt.
I was like, if he had to do it on anyone, I'm glad he did it on Goro.
There was an inspired choice, it was.
Yeah.
A little bit of comedic relief at an unexpected time where tensions are high and things are, grim. The movie still manages to make us laugh.
They took a funny special move and they made it fit the plot. How's he gonna beat Goro? Punch him in the nuts.
Hit him in the jimmy.
Cheat.
I love Shag.
And they double down on it by having Raiden go, yes!
Yeah.
He's like, I love the guy who he hits. He's like, he just looks like, hey, Raiden did it. Okay, I'll take it. He just looks away. He's like, sorry. And no, I love Shag's line after that. The way Carrie says it, he's like, "You imbecile!"
How dare you get punched in the dick? Making us all look bad out here. Out here in Outworld.
Goro, please, you're embarrassing me.
Well, I love how he's using his bottom hands to grasp his crotch, and he's using his upper arms to steady himself.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Like
the worst fight I think in MK95 is probably Sonya versus Kato.
Yeah, again,
You know-
because Bridget was cast so late, she didn't really have time to train, and that's kind of the fight that suffers for it.
They worked around it. They made it seem like it was more about like straight up a brawl for the most part, as opposed to like martial arts extravaganza. Like it's not about like flipping and doing high kicks. It's about kicking you in the stomach. It's about like slamming you to the ground, trying to step on you. They had them both kind of fight around that inability to do a lot of acrobatics, and I think that they managed to make it work.
Yeah. I mean, the best fight, I think Scorpion versus Johnny Cage in Scorpion's Lair and Liu Kang versus Reptile were reshoots, I believe.
Yeah, they
Yes.
were. They were added specifically because test audiences said that the fight scenes could have been better, or there could have been more of them, or whatnot. But so they went back. And I was talking about that with the gentleman we were watching. It was like, imagine if this whole thing had just ended with like Johnny shadow kicking Scorpion unconscious as was originally the plan.
Yeah.
Seriously, we would have missed out on so much.
Yeah, it's actually very fortuitous that what they shot, it was so easy to insert new footage into. Like, we just take Johnny doing the shadow kick to Scorpion in the forest, and we add a ripple effect to teleport them to a new scene. We just take this bit where Lou grabs an invisible reptile off the wall and throws him to the ground and then steps on him and kills him, and we insert a bit where he threw him into a statue and the statue grows into a man.
Yeah.
That's
And
the power of editing, right
yeah,
there.
for some reason, Johnny Cage just disappears when Lou's fighting Reptile.
He was watching.
Yeah, the real life reason is Lyndon Ashby wasn't on set when they filmed that. But I always assumed Katana basically stopped Johnny Cage and said, "You can't interfere."
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
wondering
He
where
has
y'all-
to. He has to handle this on his own. Look, if he's gonna have any chance against Shang Tsung, he needs to be able to fight for himself. You know.
Plus, that fucking thing spit in his eyes. He owes it payback.
Yeah.
Also, where's that groovy techno music coming from?
I think what really makes the Liu Kang versus Reptile fight is, I think, the soundtrack.
Well, yeah.
I actually think it's an inspired choice to put the announcer saying "reptile" into the soundtrack.
Right? It shouldn't work, but it does.
When I was saying Annihilation got this problem where like you don't even say the names of most of the characters that are in the movie. Like if you're not familiar with the games, you have no idea who these fuckers are.
Yeah,
I think you could fix a lot of that by putting the announcer bit into the movie more, like Melina, and then they go at it.
Yeah, or the fact that Ermac just kind of spawns Noob Saibot or something.
Yeah, he just shits him out of his chest.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
it works. It only works because they're kicking into an awesome, like, techno dance song. If it was just Reptile or Noob Saibot, that would be a little bit weird. But it works on an almost diegetic level.
Yeah, it sounds like it's part of the music. Yeah.
It's part of the music, and it also serves the narrative. It's shaky ground, but it manages to really work. It's so good.
Well, I always laugh at Noob in the Annihilation because, I mean, to be fair, Noob being the older Sub-Zero Reborn was not a thing yet in the games. You know.
Yeah, but you showed me in a game where he comes out of Ermac.
I mean, I think Noob shows up in several media by Threshold because they didn't know, because he wasn't meant to be Bihan yet.
No,
Well,
he's an oily gimp demon thing in the Conquest series.
Yeah, he's from Outworld in Conquest, and he's got this whole story that like he was displeased Shao Kahn, so Shao Kahn imprisoned him in Earthrealm or some shit.
Yeah. Or I think he shows up very briefly in Defenders of the
I mean, here's the thing that's frustrating, though, is that by the time they had shot his appearance in Conquest, Trilogy and 4 were out. Noob had a backstory. He's from the Netherrealm.
Yeah.
He should be working for Quan Chi, not Shao Kahn.
I'm guessing they were working off of early documents.
Well, what if the document they worked off of was the games that were recent?
I mean, I don't know. Like, they did it with Rain. Rain was working for Shao Kahn. They got that right.
Actually, I think we talked about this before. One of the things Threshold did in like Defense of the Realm was they had a Liu Kang Katana Rain love triangle.
Yeah, there's actually, like, they referenced that in Conquest 2. That was a recurring threshold thing, is they thought Rain would be more interesting if he had a history with Kitana. Because they are both from Edenia.
Yeah, but in the games never really did anything with them, I think, as far as
No, they don't. Kitana and Rain have basically never interacted in a game.
outside of
She knows who he, if you want to go by his MK trilogy ending, she knows who he is at least under the impression that his father used to be a general, but they've never been like lost childhood friends or old romances or anything like that. They're just a couple of Edenians who know each other.
And then Armageddon says that Rain's father is actually Argus, so
She didn't know that bit, did she?
No.
and actually, back to what I said, wasn't Noob in one scene in Defenders of the Realm, if I remember correctly?
I don't think so.
No, I have
Pretty sure
no
Noob is-
memories of Noob Saibot. He's in one comic in Malibu,
Yeah.
but he is nowhere in Defenders from my memory.
Yeah, Malibu comics are kind of like, I think there's more bad than good in those comics.
He is. It's funny because his singular appearance in Malibu is the issue where Baraka has to take care of a baby.
Yeah. And
Look, all I'm gonna say is you don't want to get me started on the quality of Malibu comics, because I am both aware that they incredibly suck for the most part. B, I love them and will defend them till my dying day.
Well,
I will be here for hours.
One thing I remember, I think Malibu was doing a Street Fighter comic, but Capcom was like, we don't like what you're doing. We're pulling the license from you.
Oh, yeah, they did
they scalped Ken after the end of the first issue.
Yeah, that ran for like 2-3 issues and then it discontinued. But they actually kept making it and only released it in like South America or something.
Yeah. Capcom basically said, "Yeah, we don't like what you're doing, so we'll pull the license."
Yeah. They even say when the book was canceled, the writer or editor put in the letters column in the back of the book that the book is being canceled and we're sorry it's because Capcom didn't agree with our choices in the book. Like they just straight up admit Capcom didn't fucking like what we did with the character.
Like, I mean, Christ, do you blame them?
Yeah, scalping Ken, that's a little much, I think.
It's a little
They were gonna reveal that he lived and just have him with his head shaved.
Yeah.
They also set up Chun-Li and Ryu as like having this incredibly like latent sexual attraction to each other.
Oh yeah, there was like
and Ryu was all conflicted over it. He was like, "No, I must live the life of a warrior," and it was embarrassing.
There was this real awkward like element to it where when he did like make a move on her, it was basically sexual assault and she wasn't into it. It's like, what the fuck? He's supposed to be a good guy.
Yeah.
I owned that issue when I was a kid. I never sought to re-own it in my adulthood, unlike all the Malibu comics.
Yeah. Doesn't Shao Kahn try to marry Sonya in the Malibu comics? Or
yes, he does.
That's actually...
And we've talked about this. It's kind of fucking weird because in doing so, he claims he'll have the keys to open, like, Earthrealm.
Yes,
and it'll be his.
the idea is that if he marries an Earthrealmer, then he can merge Earth with Outworld.
It's a quasi-Sindel scenario before Sindel was in a game, and it's very bizarre.
It feels like like there's sort of an evolutionary path of like somebody maybe read that and that's how they got the idea for the plot of MK3.
Shao. Yeah. I distinctly, and Scorpion's all, if you kill me one more time, I will cease to exist, but he just kept coming back anyway.
Yeah, they set up this idea that he can't resurrect more than once, and then they completely, ignore that rule every other time he appears.
I mean, they took full advantage of the fact that he was a dead guy to have him be killed on a couple of occasions or two. Ugh.
Yeah. Actually, that reminds me. I think the what was that terrible the Journey called? That very terrible looking cartoon that was a mix of
The
The
Journey
Journey
Begins.
Begins.
It was released as a promotional tie-in for the live action movie because it came with the VHS it came on had The Journey Begins, and then it also had a behind the scenes documentary about 95.
Yeah,
It's also on the Blu-ray.
The only thing I like about Journey Begins is that it's actually a more accurate Scorpion and Sub-Zero story.
Yeah, they actually do go into their backstories, and they do like the Great Kung Lao versus Goro. Although it's funny, almost every time there's a fight scene, they switch to this 3D art style that's super primitive, where every character has a fist and the other hand is doing a karate chop, and they can't move their hands, so they're just stuck like that, like an action figure.
We rented that shit, me and a couple of friends back in the day from the local video store, from like Blockbuster, whatever the fuck it was, and we were like, Jesus, this is bad. This is terrible.
Also, they when they did Goro versus Great Kung Lao is just MK2 Kung Lao.
Yeah.
Well, I think in Threshold, I think they just combined Great Kung Lao and Kung Lao into one character.
Yeah,
We just got the license. I guess these two people look identical or something. I don't know.
Because if you look at the movies, obviously the character of Kung Lao isn't in 95 or Annihilation, and the character of Great Kung Lao, whenever they portray him, has costume elements, even sometimes wears the hat of regular Kung Lao. And the reason they did that seems to be that they just figured we don't need two Kung Laos in the lore, and Liu Kang doesn't really need a sidekick who doesn't do anything, which, if you look at the games, I think they might have a point. Like, the character of Kung Lao is redundant. He never does anything important in any game, except now they use him as the guy they can kill off. When they want to have fatalities, it's always Kung Lao who dies, because narratives don't need Kung Lao.
And you know what? Not to shit on MK12 more than it deserves to be shat on, but God, it tried to use Kung Lao effectively. It tried to actually make him a bigger part of the narrative. And we still get new Raiden as champion.
Yes, if I may posit a thing, like, I think Mortal Kombat 12 would have been a better story if Kung Lao finally got to be the main character.
Yep.
What if, if you're trying to create a new universe that's deliberately supposed to be different from classic Mortal Kombat, and you're putting characters in all these different roles, like, what if Scorpion was Sub-Zero and all this kind of dumb
Liu
shit.
Kang is the protector god instead of
if you're gonna like mix and match these roles and have Liu Kang not be the main character anymore because he's the Raiden now, shouldn't Kung Lao finally get his turn?
No,
he's just
Raiden's time.
Even in a new universe, he's somebody's sidekick, and he's not fucking important, and he doesn't need to be there. And it's just
poor bastard.
Yeah, that was kind of always the purpose of Kung Lao, even like in MK2 and 3. Like in MK3, him dying is what motivates Liu to finally beat Shao Kahn.
It all just every possibility where they could have done something interesting with the idea of a new universe, it's like they deliberately avoid it.
Yeah.
You know what I remember thinking way, way back in the day when, like, this is before MK3 ever came out. Like, I had this image somewhere in the back of my mind when I was first looking at Kung Lao's artwork and the kind of character he was, and the fact that he was kind of this counterpart to Liu Kang. The distinct impression that I got was, this is the kind of person that Liu Kang is in danger of becoming if he starts killing people. I always felt that was kind of the hidden intention behind him, back in the old days.
Yeah.
To serve as kind of a warning, a kind of counterpart to Liu Kang, to show the road not taken.
Yeah. The point of having two monks was so that one of them could be the angry one.
The darker and edgier one.
Yeah, the darker, edgier guy, in order to create a contrast and show more about Liu Kang as a hero.
Yeah. Yeah, Tobias actually had a dynamic in mind for Liu Kang and Kung Lao.
But that never really comes across. Well, it comes across in some things. Like in MK11, it's clear that like Kung Lao, you get a lot of scenes where the two of them are by themselves together and talking with each other, and Kung Lao's always the one who's complaining about something or upset about something, and Liu Kang is the one who's like, "Calm down, it's gonna be all right."
Yeah.
But like, you could do more with it, and they don't. And I have yet to see something that to me really justifies Kung Lao's existence. Because even if you take, say, Deadly Alliance, where Liu Kang is dead and Kung Lao is ostensibly the main protagonist,
Yeah.
that could have been Kai, and the story would not change one bit. What does Kung Lao actually bring to Mortal Kombat?
What a sad state of affairs.
Yeah. And so that's why when Threshold doesn't use him and merges him with Great Kung Lao, I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll talk about what Conquest's second season was going to be, because that was it was supposed to end with Kung Lao fighting Goro for 7 days before ultimately dying, I think, right?
Well, I wonder if they would have done that in the second season, or if they were just like, that was if we ever got to see the end of the show coming, this was our plan.
Yeah, their plan.
Because they had 50 years. Like the show starts with Great Kung Lao winning the tournament before the one where he'd be killed by Goro.
Yeah.
So I guess they would have like done a time skip when they were ready to end the show in their the way they intended. But what we actually got was a cliffhanger, because they thought they were getting a season 2 and then they just didn't. But
yeah, it's supposed to end with the Elder God. The Elder God was supposed to reset everything because Shao Kahn broke the rules or something.
Yeah, the idea was that Shao Kahn just sort of gets fed up. Like, there's this building tension episode by episode at the end of the season that Shao Kahn is like losing his mind to paranoia, because too many people in his like army are secretly plotting against him. Shang Tsung has his own motives, reptiles trying to like save the Zatarans, and everybody's like secretly working with this enemy realm, Kriya and the bee ladies that they invented for the show, who are like trying to invade Outworld, and Shao Kahn is fighting a war against them.
Which bee ladies do you like more? Conquest or MKX?
I
think
I prefer the Koreans over Devora.
Just checking. Just curious.
Devora. Yeah, I guess she's a subject for another time.
Yes, not now. Not the bees. Not now.
But the thing is, so they have Shao Kahn just finally break under the pressure and decide, fuck it, I'm gonna invade Earthrealm without a tournament and just see. The Elder Gods aren't gonna do shit because I've got this plan to make them come to me, and then I'll kill them when they're in Outworld. But he does then theoretically invade Earthrealm. The whole thing of it is that there are like one of the rules that they establish in the show is that Shang Tsung isn't allowed to fight Kung Lao outside of a tournament. So anytime the two of them get into a fight, Raiden can sense it and immediately shows up to shoot lightning at Shang and stop it. He's like normally not allowed to interfere, but if the rules get broken, he's allowed to shoot people with lightning.
Yeah, which is why
But the thing is, this rule doesn't seem to apply to anybody else from Outworld. It's only Shang Tsung because he was a fighter in the previous tournament. So, like, if Rain shows up to assassinate Great Kung Lao, technically Raiden doesn't stop it. If Sub-Zero is hired to assassinate Kung Lao, Raiden doesn't stop it. There's all these other people who Kung Lao is allowed to fight. even the ones from Outworld. So, what rule technically is Shao Kahn breaking at the end of the show when he kills everybody? I don't know. But he sends the last episode of the show is that he sends shadow priests into Earthrealm to just assassinate every character in the show. He kills Reptile and Shang Tsung and Kitana and Korea's daughter Vorpax, who's taken over the Koreans, and then they kill Taja Zero and Great Kung Lao. And then Todd tricks Raiden to coming to what he thinks is an empty void between the realms to fight him. But the void is actually in Outworld, so Raiden gradually loses his powers and gets captured. And that's the way the show ends is, aha, I've killed everybody, but I've captured you, Raiden, so I get to, brag that I'm about to take over Earth. So the plan was season 2 would start with Raiden in the dungeon praying to the Elder Gods, and the Elder Gods would go, yeah, he's broken some rules. He's not allowed to kill all these people. And they would reverse time to before the season finale. And then
ironic time fuckery years before time fuckery became time fuckery.
Yeah, they would just erase the episode and go back to status quo. But the idea was that the punishment Shao Kahn would suffer for having done these things that they had to rewind is that he would no longer be allowed to host the tournament himself, because the series starts with the tournament where Great Kung Lao defeats Shang Tsung is being held in Outworld, and Shao Kahn is the referee. And the punishment would be, you're not allowed to do that anymore. We're going to hold tournaments in Earthrealm now, and somebody else has to be the ref.
Honestly, slap on the wrist, all things considered.
Yeah, it's basically nothing.
Yeah. Like what happened to Orochimaru in Naruto.
I don't know what those things are.
You're probably better off.
Well, I'll tell you after the stream's over.
No, you really don't have to. It's okay.
No, I mean about something in the Discord. I'm not going to say it here.
Okay.
So the rest of the season would have presumably been more of what the Conquest we were already getting. The basic plot of Conquest is that Great Kung Lao was supposed to be finding people to train for the next tournament.
Yeah.
But they were also, theoretically, that's the setup to create the White Lotus Society?
Yeah.
But, the other thing is that throughout the season 1, every time Great Kung Lao finds somebody to train, that person gets killed by Outworlders.
Yeah.
So he never actually gets to keep any students. But they were also building other things in the background, like Scorpion was starting a clan. Like, the Scorpion that's in Conquest is a version of the Takeda from the Mythology's backstory. So he's supposed to be, founding the Shirai Ryu, and they did an episode in season 1 where he starts a clan and he's recruiting students. They just don't call it the Shirai Ryu.
And Sub-Zero leaves the Ling Kuei or something.
Yeah, they kind of fast forward. They steal elements of Kuai Li Ag's backstory for the Sub-Zero that's in the show, even though it's 500 years ago. And they were going to have him being hunted down by the show's version of Smoke, but they teased it, and they never got around to doing that.
And it was going to be fantastic, and there was going to be this excellent, amazing three-parter, and they would have stolen the fact that show's version of Sub-Zero and Smoke also happened to be best friends, and they were going to develop that. It was going to be wonderful. And I have canonical proof for none of this. I have no historical documentation. Just years of consideration, observation of patterns, and desperate dreams, all tattered, all destroyed. The scene is 1999, and I'm reading the news that the show is canceled, and I'm going, fuck.
Yeah, I don't know how you got your news back then. Wasn't what it was today. You didn't have.
Well, we had these carrier pigeons, you see.
Well, we didn't have social media to just instantly get the news like we do today.
But yeah, I mean, we know.
The internet existed. There were web pages. I'm not kidding when I say that there legitimately were discussion groups for stuff like MK, Ultimate MK, and stuff like that at the time.
Well,
that's part of where I was discussed. That's part of where like my knowledge of WaveNet UMK3 comes from.
yeah. There's also like we've had interviews with people who worked on Conquest and all that kind of thing. The main way that we know how the cliffhanger was supposed to be undone if there had been a season 2 is that so Thresholds they for a while they owned the domain mortalkombat.com. And
To
so
the
if you
great ire of people who worked at Midway.
yeah. So if you went to mortalkombat.com, you wouldn't get a games website, you'd get a website for the movies and shows. And this website had a timeline on it. And after Conquest was over, they added to this timeline an explanation after, Shao Kahn killed Great Kung Lao and everybody, the Elder Gods undid it. And that's how it was supposed to make sense. That's how we know how the show would have fixed it, is they put it up on the website as part of a timeline, as opposed to like an interview or anybody like really explaining it.
Yeah.
But we do know a couple of things from interviews. Like, I think the idea that the fight between Goro and Great Kung Lao would have taken 7 days is from some behind-the-scenes interview or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of the producers or writers say, that's what I had in my head. That's what we would have done. But because, the whole...
I don't think that would have made it to camera.
Yeah, you're not going to actually film a fight that's 7 days long. That's ridiculous. It's just...
I don't care how many
sort of
years old you are. You need to sleep.
It's sort of a romanticized notion of we would have had a narrator say it that way or something like that. It would have been like a montage or a dream sequence at the end of the show, because again, that's 50 years away from when season 1 happened.
Yeah. Well, wasn't there hints in the first season that Kung Lao was going to die fighting Goro?
Yes, throughout season 1, Great Kung Lao keeps having like dreams, like prophetic visions that are glimpses of Goro, like shots of him in close-up throwing punches at the camera that were stolen from MK95.
And just distorted just a little bit so as to be unrecognizable.
Yeah, just wave the camera around, shake it, and blur it, and get the impression that he's seeing a fight from the first person, that he's dreaming about how he's going to die.
He's seeing premonitions of his own death.
Had
they gotten to the point, he probably would have gone into that fight knowing he was going to die.
Yeah, throughout the show, like Great Kung Lao's his character arc, or the thing that he's wrestling with in the show, is that Raiden has put on his shoulders that he's the one who has to save Earthrealm and win the tournaments. And in his head, he keeps thinking, I don't think I'm the guy. Like, yeah, I won the last tournament, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to die doing this. I'm not the one who's going to keep Earthrealm safe. And that's why it's so important to him to find a way to retire from being a fighter and to train other people to be fighters. Yeah. Because he's got this dread in the back of his mind of like, I can't actually win the next one. I don't want to be a fighter for Earthrealm anymore. I want to retire and find somebody to fall in love with and have a family and live a normal life.
And part of the implied development of what he would have gone through was that he would probably have learned to accept it.
Well, he also
facing his destiny and things.
He does need to find a love interest who doesn't die, because he has a girlfriend in the first episode and she gets killed by Scorpion. And like he needs to get somebody pregnant and have descendants, or else modern Kung Lao doesn't exist. Which I guess modern Kung Lao doesn't exist in the movies, so they don't have to actually hook up with anyone.
Yeah, it's a suggestion more than an idea.
No. Liu Kang is his descendant in the movies, so he does have to have kids.
Fair point.
Yeah. So, what do you think Defenders of the Realm Season 2 would have been like, if anything? Is there any news about that? Or
we would have still not gotten Melina.
That's never happened. I've never heard any plans for a Season 2 of Defenders. What I have heard is that Season 1, like if you read the series Bible, which is out there on the internet as a PDF, they have like the backstories of characters, all the things the writers need to know to write an episode of the show. One of the blurbs in that series Bible is that they were going to have an episode with Shinnok. And the plot of that episode was going to be that Shinnok would somehow trap the characters and force Raiden to fight him. And it's basically describing they took this plot and they rewrote it to be the episode where Shang Tsung has a magic orb that controls the elements.
Yeah, that
and
the
uses
fun
it to force
story about
Raiden.
that- Yeah, the USA Network had some big crossover with that orb. Like,
Yeah, they were trying to do a thing to promote all their shows where they'd have the magic orb and some like Viking prince
voiced by
were
Michael-
jumping from dimension to dimension and appearing in like 4 of their cartoons.
Yeah,
So
the
like
Viking guy actually doesn't show up in Defenders of the Realm. Except for
yeah, you see like there's at the end of the episode when Raiden beats Shang and takes the orb from him, Raiden creates a portal to another realm and chucks the orb in it to get rid of it. And you see like a mysterious silhouette come out of off screen and run through the portal to go after the orb. That was the Viking prince, but you don't actually see him, so it doesn't matter at all to the Mortal Kombat. They didn't want to bother with the crossover. They just wanted to use the orb.
Yeah,
I do think that given time, given a second season, we probably would have gotten a fair amount of like the great beats that Trilogy and UMK3 gave us. I think it's not out of the question we could have seen Melina actually get her own episode, kind of haphazardly had her MK2 origin shoved into UMK3, minus the Shinnok connections. Maybe she's made by making a deal with Shinnok. Maybe we get Johnny Cage back. I don't know.
maybe I'm guessing Scorpion would have showed up again because
It's Scorpion.
Yeah,
course.
you gotta do more Scorpion. I think the thing that's interesting to me is that the setting of Defenders of the Realm is weirdly not explored. Like, there are episodes where they're fighting in what seems to be post-apocalyptic wastelands, as though the series is taking place during the MK3 invasion and Earthrealm is a desolate wasteland. But then there are episodes where like Jax decides he wants to retire and live in his grandpa's cabin, so I guess Earth isn't that bad off after all.
We're just gonna gloss over the part where all 6 billion of the Earth's inhabitants are dead. That's a bit too much for Saturday morning popcorn.
Like, imagine if the invasion
Popcorn.
lasted for years, though. Like, are you gonna do anything about the fact that Earth is fucked? How did it get this way? Are we gonna talk about that?
Nope.
actually
Tune in next time to learn some important moral lessons.
Was Johnny Cage mentioned to be dead in the series?
Yeah, no, that's the thing, is that the pilot episode starts in media res, as though like the 95 movie has happened, and then more stuff like invasion stuff started happening off screen that they don't tell us about in order to explain why there's a team of fighters, including guys we've never met before like Nightwolf and Stryker, living in Nightwolf's reservation out in the desert in a secret high-tech bat cave. And they allude to things like they have the Tarkatans being led by a guy named Karbrak, and they hint that it's because Baraka died off screen between the movie and the show. And then they have like when Sub-Zero first joins the team, Sonya's like real against him. She doesn't trust him. And it's like, why is she so stuck up? And it's because she's lost, quote unquote, 2 partners. So not just the guy Kato killed back in the day, but also somebody else, which may be Johnny Cage. He was her quote unquote partner, and he died off screen after the movie.
They've been dating for a week.
But they never say his name.
Yeah,
They just don't talk about Johnny.
Let's Defenders of the Realm. What's the most quoted line where Jax goes, "I was the fattest kid in school." I'm talking.
Yeah, there's a whole episode where they're like, is that the Quan Chi episode where he uses a magic gem to make them all mean to each other?
Yes.
So they're all attacking each other's personal insecurities.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they had to set up the things that the characters are insecure about, and Jax doesn't like people joking about his weight because he used to be fat.
And I think they actually reused that plot in Conquest.
Yeah, the idea that Quan Chi likes to make people, he tries to corrupt people and turn them against their allies. But in Conquest, they actually make it make sense. The idea is that he's trying to get Kung Lao's soul, and he's not a soul stealer. People have to die and go to the Nether Realm for him to get their souls. But Kung Lao is a good guy, so he has to darken his soul so that when he dies, he'll go to the Nether Realm. It makes sense. But they don't even say when Quan Chi appears Defenders that he's from the Nether Realm or what his deal is. He's just a mysterious sorcerer from some other realm.
Yeah, they just I think that actually Quan Chi showed up in Defenders of the Realm before his games were out.
Yeah, it was slightly before Mythologies was released. It was in development, and that's how Threshold knew about the character. So they didn't invent Quan Chi. Like, some people mistakenly think that Defenders invented Quan Chi and then the games liked him and stole him. But no, Mythologies was in development before the cartoon. The cartoon came out first.
Some people are uninformed. Or idiots.
Just like how with the Transformers, like the comic and cartoon were in production at the same time, but just the comic came out first because it's much faster to make a comic than a cartoon show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on with Transformers, and I couldn't possibly begin to discuss it all at the same time. Strictly speaking, they're both based on a toy line, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. My favorite Transformers thing is that in the cartoon versus in the comics, Rumble and Frenzy's colors are flipped. One of them's red and the other's blue, and you never know which one's which.
The term for that is called RIR-FIB or FIR-RIB, depending on who
that's a recurring joke on TF Wiki.
Yeah.
And the best part of that joke is that if you read the early Transformers comics, like the first couple issues where they both appear, they both look kind of blackish. They're not really blue or red. But yeah, there's no consistency. These days, I think that because the legacy of the TV show kind of eclipsed more over the legacy of the comic, when he's shown, it tends to be Rumble in blue, Frenzy in red.
Yeah, although they do
usually
keep they do keep the Primus stuff from the comics and modern TF stuff.
It's been that way for the most part since Beast Wars.
Yeah, well, I think it's because
Beast Wars was explicitly
that's better than what the cartoon gave the origins for Unicron the Transformers.
No one is ever using Primacron in anything ever again. We don't need the little weird monkey dude that made a giant robot. It's just we're just going to pretend it didn't happen, relegate it to funny cameos and winks and nods for people who get it, if they get it. Simon Furman's depiction of Unicron and Primus as gods is the definitive origin, and we're going to apply that to everything, and that's going to be just fine.
Yeah, but, I mean, it sounded way better than what the cartoon did. That's the thing.
Oh, the cartoon never made any sense.
Yeah.
The cartoon was never supposed to make it. You had Megatron sealing the Empire State Building, for God's sake. I almost said, if you want to read some good Transformers, go read the original UK comics, not just the Marvel US ones. Go find yourself a copy of Target 2006 or Time Wars and read it.
Well, Furman
that stuff's got more stuff in common with like Star Trek or like Doctor Who. Well, the tone you'd be familiar with.
I'll give Furman credit. He definitely kind of defined Transformers as a mythology, if so to say.
He absolutely did. He was an incredibly skilled writer. Not flawless, but really, really good.
He has his certain catchphrases he likes to repeat.
Shiag is my favorite sound effect of his.
Or it is over.
Finished. It's done. Finished.
Or it's like or what else is there? He's like, let's give this creature the worst case of indigestion it's ever had.
Yeah, that sentence has happened at least 10 fucking times in all the comics.
Or never did want to live forever.
Good stuff.
Or reap the whirlwind.
A few times. That one does occur a few times, yes.
Yeah, they actually got Peter Cullen and Frank Welker to say those phrases in the Transformers Earth Wars mobile game.
Did they? Fascinating.
Yeah, they actually got them to say, it is over, finished, and reap the whirlwind.
I think it's supposed to be, it's done, finished. I'm not... Anyway.
Yeah.
Shiag.
Or it never ends. That's another Furman phrase.
Yeah, it never ends is one he really, really enjoys.
Because
Furmanisms. They call them Furmanisms.
Yeah.
well, it's kind of true. It never really ends. It just changes into something else.
It does. I mean, probably no great writer out there is completely immune to that kind of thing. It's tropes, you know.
Chris
They come and they
Claremont
go.
had a lot of those writing habits. Like, he'd always have Psylocke say, the focused totality of my psychic powers whenever she's explaining her
the
knife.
focused totality.
Well, Chris Claremont loved exposition. He would always put in like little subplots, like little teases of plots to come, but
His characters were very talky. There used to be a philosophy in comics. It's not followed as well anymore, but the idea was every issue could be somebody's first. So make sure that they're not confused with who the characters are and what's going on.
Yeah.
See, the solution to that is you have them talk in the third person all the time, constantly. Reintroducing themselves every third panel.
Yeah, it's those were common habits, especially in the 90s. Like, Malibu is full of people referring to themselves in the third person, so you know their names.
That's exactly what Shad was referencing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we're pretty good. I'm ready to wrap it up. Anything else you want to say?
I have to pee so very badly. I have just discovered, to my immense delight, that the first initial CD edition of an album reissue I have been looking forward to for 25 years is now dripping its way onto the internet. I have urgent business elsewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
But I will say this. Based on the sheer amount of stuff that we've learned about the Legacy Collection over the past couple of trailers and conventions and stuff like that, I think the time has well and truly come for me to do what I've been threatening and promising to do for a little while, and do a quick little solo video of my own where I just kind of gush about it. So I'm going to do that pretty soon. I was thinking about it tonight, but that's not really feasible because I'm so exhausted and so much is happening. Yeah. So for those of you listening and look forward to that, I'm going to pump that out hopefully before I go to Toronto this weekend for 9 Inch Nails. Hopefully tomorrow night.
Okay. Look forward to that on the NetherKast.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you have to say, Razor?
Watch our Batman LP. We're doing, Arkham Asylum. It's a good game.
I actually just did a playthrough of that, so it's like, that's I just did a playthrough of that. Yeah, it's the first time I played those games since Kevin Conroy passed, and it's like kind of a sad.
Yeah, it's hearing him and Arlene Sorkin. It's kind of doing things to me, but I'm trying to keep a stiff upper lip about it.
The thing is that I watch and rewatch so much DC animated media all the time that Kevin's never really been gone for me.
Yeah, that's the way. It's like they live on through this.
Yeah,
but
yeah, like it's sad that he's no longer with us, and it's a shame that we can't get like new content with someone who's no longer here. But
yeah,
there's so much, like there's 30 years of Kevin being the Batman and things, so I never really run out of stuff to watch that he's in.
I was just shocked because I figured he had at least another decade in him voicing Batman.
The only time I hear his voice and I really get sad is the Devil May Cry show because it's really, really bad and I feel bad that he's in it.
Hey man, paycheck's a paycheck.
I haven't heard very good things about that show.
No, it's if you're a fan of Devil May Cry, I think it's further from the mark and worse than the reboot that everybody hated 10 years ago.
The biggest thing I say is like they have Johnny Young Bosch voicing Dante, and I'm like, why does Dante sound like Nero?
Yeah, it's just weird. But there's these plot choices. So the first games came out in like the early 2000s, and so the producer Adi Shankar, who's famously an internet edgelord who wears crow makeup in public and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This fucking guy, he's like, well, when those games came out is when 9/11 happened. So in my head, I associate them with 9/11. So he put like a war on terror message into the show. where like the demons Dante fights are a metaphor for people in the Middle East. And so some of them aren't evil and are being like mistreated as a result of the actions of a select few. And it's like, wait a second, you're trying to say that demons are just like humans, they just come from another dimension. But in the games, some of them are floating skulls and ghosts and shit. You can't make grounded, realistic Devil May Cry, man. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, Virgil's gonna do a 9/11? Is that where season 2 is going? Does anybody want that?
Who does Kevin Conroy play in that show?
So Kevin Conroy plays like the secretary. No, he's the vice president. He's Dick Cheney. He's a direct like parody of Dick Cheney. So he's this super religious conservative, war hawk military guy.
I find that so hard.
And the whole bit is that like the president is like an incompetent redneck, and he's the one who really runs the country and all that kind of stuff. And then it turns out at the end, like he spends the whole first season trying to get Dante to join the paramilitary team to fight demons. And he keeps saying that it's, you know, he's like super religious, and you can, even though you're half demon, you can redeem yourself by fighting on the side of God. And then you find out at the very end that no, he just wants to invade the hell dimension because they have magic oil. Which again,
subtle.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, the U.S. military are the real bad guys, and the demons of the Hell Realm are actually, poor and mistreated, oppressed foreign power, and like. It's so bad. It's so other. The season ends with a montage of the American military invading hell and defeating the demons and taking over that is set to Green Day's American Idiot.
Oh my god.
It is the most unsubtle, dumb needle drop I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I don't even like that song on its own merits. And it's just so wrong and so not Devil May Cry.
Yeah. Basically, it's Devil May Cry in name only.
Yeah, it's a lot of these like tone choices and trying to have a message and doing it in a really like dumb, edgy way are the same problems that happened to the DMC reboot that everybody hated, except I actually think the DMC reboot did it better.
Well, the DMC reboot had pretty much a guy who was basically Bill Riley.
Yeah, but they're like, it is more intelligently written, if you can believe it, in that game than it is in this stupid fucking show. Like, it's a really low bar, and they did not clear it.
That's I'm glad I didn't watch it then.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. And it's important to get that message out there because they just dropped the trailer for season 2. Don't watch this fucking show. It's bad.
Hopefully it's the last season.
Even the action isn't good. Like, Devil May Cry is an action series that's all about the stylish combat. And the fight scenes in the show are just kind of meh. They're totally mid.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there. I gotta get to bed soon.
All right.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what I meant about the Discord after we get off.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time where we will hopefully actually talk about Deception.
Yeah, we'll finally get to the game.
All right. Later, guys.
See you later, nerds.
Well,